Hello and welcome back to That Ally Garage. Today we're gonna have a quick video of steps to take to do a IMS bearing on the M96 Porsche motor. If you're new to this channel, please consider subscribing. We work on a bunch of different Porsches, how-to videos and maintenance and fixing different things. This is part of a few episode series on this particular car. This car was a interesting build because it was an insurance scam that we benefited from unknowingly, so that's great. So look at the links before or check out this. I'll put a link under the video for the video. You could start from the beginning of the build of this project. But for now, in this video, I'm going to try to keep it as short as possible. So this way you guys can just pause and rewind as much as you need if you guys are doing it at home. We're going to be doing the IMS bearing. So let's get to work. Alright, so the first step is to locate on the crank pulley this one mark over here. This is all of them have circles. This one is oblong, okay? And you want to put this right here. There is going to be a pin. I mean, you could put this pin. This is the pin that comes in the kit. I'm going to go over in a minute. And it goes in and connects into the block around over here. So I'm going to spin the engine around so we could put it in the right position and start this job. All right, so if you could tell over here, we're just about to hit the mark, right? I'm gonna spin it slowly just so you could see what I'm talking about. There's a casting mark in, there it is, in the block itself, right? You just have to jiggle it right in the spot. I just want it to go in. So this is the toolkit. The IMS toolkit from LN Engineering, and this is our new rear main seal, and this is our Pelican IMS bearing. We're going to go through the parts as we use them and tools as we use them. So starting in the back of the engine. Alright, so this is the rear of the engine, this is the crank, and this is our IMS bearing cap. Before starting here, we're going to start right here. I have this pick over here that we're going to push in the middle of that and take these two caps out. We need to insert the tool over here, the alignment tool. So once you put it in, you can pull it out. Alright, that's one. Alright, so with the caps exposed, with the caps removed, we have the crank exposed. You could see that there's a groove over here on the bottom one and none on the top. So we actually didn't need to take off the top one, but I needed to take it off to know that I didn't need to. So, if it did have a groove on the top, you would use this one. You would stick it in here, and there's a hole over here where the ground wire goes onto. So that's for a different setup. We're going to use this one. This one has just the one, and you slide it into there, into the groove. It should be perfect and sits perfectly flush over here. Now, if it does not, then you rotate the crank in the front, like the first step one, and you rotate the whole engine, the whole crank 360 degrees, which will bring this to 180 degrees. So it will be 180 degrees switched. But for now, we did do it correctly, luckily. We got it on the first try. It's you tighten that up, it's in there, it's tight, it holds this crank in, this cam in position. Now with the crank and the cam both in the proper place, we're gonna remove this tensioner. This is a tensioner for the timing belt, the timing chain in the rear of the engine. And have aside you a container because it will leak oil out of here. All right, not even much. I'm going to set this one aside, and we're going to take another one off the other side, another tensioner off. Now we move to the other side of the motor, and you can see there's another one right here, another tensioner over here on the center of the block. It's not fitting. I'm just going to have to remove this bolt so I can move this coolant line a little bit lower, just so I can get my socket to fit. Now that I lowered this a little bit, my socket should be able to fit good, and break it loose. Same thing again, have a pan or something underneath it because it might leak some oil. I like to place these on each side, the side they belong to, so it goes back on effortlessly. Alright, so next thing where I'm going to do is going to remove the rear main seal. You don't need to change it when you do this, but it's recommended to, and plus this one was leaking. Take a screwdriver, stick it under here. Try not to scratch the crank, not that it will scratch so easily with the screwdriver, but you want to just... Oh, whoa, wait. Before, I'm sorry. You take a depth gauge. You see these calipers? At the bottom of it, there's a depth gauge. So you push this in till the right spot. So you go over here and get the measurement of from the flat part to see how far the seal is. All right, does not have to be exact, but somewhere close to it. This helps you keep it exact, right? You go around, perfect, okay? So when we put the new one in, we have the size. We're gonna lock it in place and put it aside. Now you take a little hammer and a hammer with a skinny screwdriver and hit the main seal, the seal itself, no metal part, the middle of the seal. You push it in over there, it's going to start coming out on the other end. And now you go to try to get to the bottom of it so we can pull this end out. Actually, here. All right, now that you got the bottom out, you can slide and massage the top out too. Now you go to the center bolt of the IMS bearing. Most of the times you get lucky, you could shoot it out with a small impact gun. If not, there's a little groove in the bottom that has, you could put a flathead screwdriver, and you're gonna have to use an open wrench. But let's see if we could get lucky in this one. See, we need something stronger. Yes, perfect. All right, we don't really want to push that in just yet or anything. Now we're going to open these three screws. Now with a flathead or pry bar, you stick it in over here. There's a little bit of a flat spot that you can stick something in and just pry it out. We're just taking out the cover right now. Flathead screwdriver. Just massage it out. Again, so now this is steel and this is aluminum, right? So if you're going to put any sharp points, you want to favor the You want to favor the steel part of it because you don't want to leave a groove inside the aluminum. All right. This one looks like it's in pretty up. It's worn out, this one. Look at that. See that? All right. Now I'm gonna set up the rest of the tools. Ooh, yeah, this bearing is on the way out. All right, excessive play for sure. So for right now, I'm just gonna go put this in the parts washer so it could soak, so we could get all the grime off of it, and then I'm gonna set up the tools for this. All right, so with the cover out, I cleaned up a little bit with some brake cleaner, let it drain out. Make sure not to get too much inside where the crank is. Now, the kit comes with 2 of these fittings, and you have to find the correct one, which I know this one, and you thread it into this hole here, the center bolt. You get as far in as possible. You know, don't have to go crazy. Just to hand tighten it. Done. Next, they have this bolt that goes into here, or this stud. Then you have this whole thing here, right? This has a hole inside of it that's going to thread into that. But you have to put it together to get it to work that way. So we're going to just thread it in by hand. Beautiful. Now we're going to slide this all the way in, and we can again hand tighten this nut over here, and then we're going to start using some hand tools. For now, just tighten it. Alright, now that it's hand tightened, you start tightening this big nut over here. As you tighten it, it is pulling the bearing out into here. Alright, so this is what comes with the Pelican kit, right? The D here is for the dual row, and the S is for the single row. Whenever you get the bearing, when you pull out the bearing, you know what you have. A lot of times you can't tell till you pull it out, but they do make a mistake, and they put here, they switch these guys around. So basically, everything that you need in the dual row is over here, and everything you need for the single row is over here, except for this one. I don't know why they mistake these, but it doesn't work this way. This needs to go on the dual row, this needs to go on the single row. So we have a dual row in ours. This is the single row that's going inside. This is the upgraded single row from Pelican. We're going to push this aside for now, and we're going to look at 2 dual rows. The one that came out, I just want to show you the amount of play that it has. Let me see if we could, you see that? That's really bad. This is on the way out. This is one that was changed a little while ago. It's still good, and you could see that it's really tight in there. This came out of the GT3 build. If you remember, I built the fake GT3 build and had the broken crank. This is the broken crank that came out of it. If you're interested in watching this build, I'll leave a link down below so you can watch that one. I think that one's like 13 or 14 episodes of a complete engine rebuild on this one. So that's a fun that's one of my first series, but okay, that's that. So we went through the old one. We're gonna put this aside, and now we're gonna start on installing. This is the cover that came off of the car right now. So this, I just cleaned it. We're going to put a new O-ring on it, and then we're going to grease it up in a minute, or lube it up, put a little oil on it. But let's just put this seal in here. Some of them are thinner, and they give you these O-rings for that purpose. So the other ones have O-ring, but this one does not have it. We're gonna put that aside. So now we're gonna empty out our parts for our dual row. This little O-ring we're going to use later on, so don't forget about that. These are our new bolts, and they include these helper studs that we're going to eventually be using. We're going to use these guys here. So I'm going to put that aside. This is the bearing that we're going to install now, right? It comes with this upgraded bolt 2 nut. This comes in the toolkit, and we're going to use this to hammer it into our intermediate shaft, and we're going to hit it all the way to the end. All right, there's going to be a end. We'll get to that soon. After that, I'm just going to run through it. This goes on top of it, and this is a snap ring. See this? This is going to hold it in place. Once all that is together, this guy goes in the middle. Oh, hold on. Let me just undo this bolt here. This could stay or not stay. Doesn't matter right now. This goes in there, and this gets tightened in there just like that, right? I want to give you just an idea of how everything goes, because it gets confusing once it's in there. So now you see that there's a little bit of it's showing. This flat one goes in here. Then the O-ring, this O-ring goes over there, and then you tighten this over here. All right, so we're going to take this apart for now. We're going to take it, all of it apart, and all we need, I'll leave it just like this. All we need is this right now, and this tool. All right, I'm going to put it just like that. And we're going to send it. All right, so now with the bearing all the way in, we're going to take the spacer that slides right into place, and there's a groove inside of the one second, let's be clean here, don't like making a mess. All right, so there's a groove inside of the intermediate shaft itself, and we're going to put this spring clip in there to hold it from coming out. So you feed it in, you put a tip of it in, and you insert it one layer at a time. You can take a little flathead screwdriver to help just push it in, because it gets a little tight at a certain point. All right. That's it. It's in there. Okay, so now we're going to put in these studs, these helper studs. If you don't put them in, actually, I'm going to pull them out for a second. If we were to put this in, right, you see it hits the body? We need this centered, because this is a little bit cocked. So to help it, you put in these helpers. They helped straight and everything. So when we put this, when we put the housing on it, it's gonna go in straight. All right. It's good to have a little oil. I'm gonna oil up our little O-ring here, the new one that we put in. Put a little oil on the outside of it. And I'm going to oil the inner part of the shaft. That's getting this one right there. So now we're going to start putting it in, and the helper, all these studs are kind of helping us direct it. And I'm going to just help tap it in. So it's tighter. We need. Beautiful. So I'm going to take one of them out at a time and replace it with the bolts that they gave us. Again, I'm just going to hand tighten them in there until I'm ready to torque them down. And they have, if you look closely, they have anti-seize on them. These get tightened to 8 foot-pounds of torque. Alright. Next part is the O-ring that we're going to oil up. Slide it in on top of the shaft. And now we're going to put the spacer in. If you look at it closely, it has a groove on the inside. This groove, see, one side is flat and one side has a groove. The groove, the part that's concaved inside, goes where the O-ring goes. That's what's going to seal the O-ring. And then we're going to take this, the nut that came with the kit, and we're going to thread it on. Now this nut over here gets torqued down to 24 foot-pounds. All right, that's the IMS bearing. Now we're going to work on putting the rear main seal. Right now I'm going to start doing the rear main seal. First goal is to install it so it's all flush. Then we could start putting it deeper in. I like to use tools like this. This is a punch, right? It has flat edges, and I like to be able, I want to be able to use it this way so we can put the whole thing flat. And it comes, the factory one comes with this install piece that will help it install correctly. You slide it in. Not all at once. Wherever it is the highest, or it protrudes the most, that's where you hit it, and just even it out till it's fully flush. All right, now it's fully flush every way around it. And now we're gonna push it using this. Not using this, we're gonna measure with this. And now we're gonna use what tool? Let me go get. Now I'm just gonna go around it and push it in. It's a very flat surface and not hard, just you don't want to bend the metal that is inside the seal. And take your measurements. It needs to go inside all the way around. Okay, over there is fine. Over there needs to go in. This area needs to go in. Now you could start putting back the belt tensioners. You push, it's hard to push it in, but you got to push it in. Just start threading it a little bit, and then you could tighten it. Next tensioner is down there. Next step, we're going to remove our cam lock. And I'm going to take some RTV sealer and I'm putting them on the outside of our new cam seals. You can't reuse the old one because remember we made a hole in the middle of it. And you simply hit them in with the hammer or mallet. And then the last step, now you could reinstall the engine. Now, you did not have to take the motor out to do this. I took the motor out for a different reason, because we thought the motor was bad. It had cylinder misfire number 5, and we checked in a different video. You could see we checked the injectors, the spark plugs, compression tests. We did a bunch of different tests on that one cylinder, and it still was running. It's still running a misfire, wasn't firing. Later on, we found there was. You know what? I'm gonna keep it a secret. You guys can go back if you haven't watched that video. I'm gonna put it on the bottom, and it's a crazy story. It's crazy. That somebody would do this to a car. Somebody sabotaged it for the insurance company to get paid. I don't know the backstory, but I just know the final story. So look into that. If you're new to this channel, please subscribe. Hopefully I helped you if you were installing one of these into IMS bearings. And till next time, if you ain't got haters, you ain't popping.